chain industry, innovation, decentralized systems.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will start in a few minutes. Thank you. Dear guests, we will start in 2 minutes. Please take your seats and get ready. Thank you.
Welcome to Harmony Meetup 6. the premier Web3 event in the region. Today, we explore groundbreaking topics shaping the blockchain industry: innovation, decentralized systems, regulations, and custody solutions. Connect with visionaries, collaborate with innovators, and take part in shaping the digital future. Featuring industry experts, thought leaders, panel discussions, and unparalleled networking opportunities. Harmony Meetup 6, empowering communities and embracing the Web3 revolution. Let's shape tomorrow, today.
Good morning, dear guests. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I'm pretty sure you had a wonderful evening yesterday, and believe me, today is going to be much better. But now, to the official and the most important part of the day. We are happy to welcome you to Harmony Meetup 6 featuring Fasttoken. Let's make a round of applause to all the people who united all us here. This event is all about uniting the brightest minds in Web3 to collaborate, learn, and inspire each other. Throughout the day, you're going to hear the speeches from the industry trailblazers about the latest developments, strategies, and opportunities in blockchain and decentralized technologies. Without further ado, I would like to invite on this stage my colleague who will introduce you the latest developments on Bahamut blockchain, proof of stake and activity, and talk about the stable coins on Bahamut blockchain. Please meet Pavel Aramyan, blockchain program lead.
Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you on this stage every time. I hope you had a wonderful evening yesterday. I sure did. Getting straight to the point, for the better time of the last year and even the other one as well, we were working on the implementation of our consensus, which was developed in-house, which we call proof of stake and activity. And we have been running all the tests. We have changed our test network 3 times to be able to make sure that this is going to be working perfectly once it goes onto the mainnet, which is Bahamut, of course. And the main idea of proof of stake and activity is the philosophy to reward businesses and even individuals who are doing something on the chain on the most decentralized layer, right? So the main idea is that if you have created something on the blockchain and there are users who like what you create, you should be rewarded by the blockchain itself. So as you know, for Bahamut, when you become a validator, you can expect around 7% of annual income through the validation fees. With the emergence of proof of stake and activity, this 7% can grow exponentially depending on what type of product you create. The products can be very, very different. It doesn't matter if you have a token or you have a decentralized exchange or you have a marketplace or you have complex other products. Doesn't matter. What matters is that people, the users, use your product. They like what you do and they're prepared to spend gas on transactions to use your product. This is the core idea. And the more they spend gas on on the transactions when interacting with your products, the more you'll be able to earn in terms of blockchain fees, and the blockchain is going to be rewarding you for building on Bahamut. And this philosophy has not been implemented in any other blockchain up until now. And we were the first to come up with the idea, and we really believe that this is going to be a very, very big game changer in the world of blockchain technologies, because if you think about it, there is a loop, right? There's a loop. If you build on chain and the chain rewards you, you obviously like the rewards, and then you continue building on the chain again. And then you get more rewards from the chain. And this is a loop that goes on and on. It's like a snowball. It keeps growing, keeps getting more people in. Once other businesses or other individuals even see the success from somebody's side, they want to jump in, right? This is natural, and this goes into a bigger loop after that and then continues to grow. And essentially the idea is that everybody in the end is happy. Users are happy, businesses are happy, and the chain is happy, of course, and because it's being used for what it's meant to be used. So this is going to be live by the end of the year, by the end of January next year. We're finishing, making the finishing touches. And the beautiful idea already also is that anybody can join in without asking any permissions, without having to do essentially any difficult thing. Like all you need to do is you need to become a validator on Bahamut and then do whatever you want, right? Whatever business, whatever token, whatever NFT collection, whatever you think is good, you can do. And you don't need to ask anybody's permission. So this is the very, very main cornerstone of what Bahamut was about and is about. And in the next year, you're going to be seeing more of this. About the proof of stake activity and how it continues to grow. Second thing that I'd like to introduce today, it's not new. It has been going on for a couple months now, but it's also very important. It concerns the stable currencies of AMD, AMDT and AMDC. So these are very similar to the equivalents of USDT and USDC, except that the AMDC has been developed with the support and cooperation with the Central Bank of Armenia, and it's been governed by the Central Bank of Armenia, which means that this is, in its sense, it's the first central bank governed token which lives on the blockchain, right? So basically you can use this currency to do everything that you do in your daily lives, and the idea is to expand this to the whole world. We started with Armenia, but after that we plan to do this in other countries as well. So it's going to be very exciting and important to see how the development of this is going to be. About AMDT, AMDT is the equivalent of USDT on Bahamut. It's the stable token for the Armenian drum, but it functions exactly as USDT, while AMDC is not the same. And it's been the fact that it's being governed by the central bank means that means a lot of things actually. It means that firstly, the central bank acknowledges and is pushing this technology. They're not like some years ago, most central banks have been very afraid to approach any blockchain, tokens, whatever, right? Now they're not afraid anymore. And this is probably the most important thing. And lastly, but not leastly, I'd like to announce a partnership that we're doing with a very special partner of ours in the Asian market, specifically in Korea. We have made a partnership to expand to this market, and I'd like to invite Dr. James to make a small presentation for everyone about this venture. Please.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. How are you today? Good? I'm CEO of Asteria. Today, I'm going to talk about the expanding horizon, the FTN and Bahamut's collaboration, strategic entry to Asia. Before starting, let me introduce myself. I'm a chairman of IDAXA, which stands for International Digital Asset Exchange Association. It's a global organization with the respective country blockchain association and crypto exchange association. From 1997, around 25 years, I worked as Asia regional leader and Korea CEO, representative director of one of the global top IT company, Hewlett-Packard, HP Enterprise Service Group. In addition to that, I'm doing the concurrent role, Korea Representative Committee of OECD, on behalf of government simultaneously. So, according to this, my background, I will talk about today, first, current Web3 Korea and Asia market, then next stage and trend of Web3 games, and opportunities for Bahamut and FTN's collaboration partners. Lastly, what is Asteria's potential role in collaboration FTN's ecosystem with the iPrime, which is one of the specialized Web3 company to Korea. For current Web3 market in Korea and Asia, I'm gonna give a very simple quiz. What is the amount of daily trading volume of cryptocurrency in Korea? There will be a prize. Could you please take a prize? My quiz is, what is the amount of daily trading volume of cryptocurrency in Korea? You can just guess and tell me the number. The prize is the traditional, the Italian bread with Korea traditional pepper sauce and Korean noodle. You can see these items in K-pop and K-drama. So just tell me the number. Is there, okay, you raised your hand. 100 million. 400 million. Okay, anyone else? 13 million. 20. Okay. 5 million. How? 10 million. Wow. The answer. What's the question? Question is, what's the amount of daily volume of Korea cryptocurrency in Korea? The answer, you will be very surprising. The answer is 14 billion US dollar. What a surprise it is. However, I will give you the first one. First come, first come. First. Someday you visit Korea, we'll meet, and I will give you a great dinner. Okay? Thank you. Well, I will keep going. Okay. So, last month, the daily trading volume of Korea cryptocurrency was over 14 billion US dollar. The number exceeds the trading Korea stock market. It shows a significant capital shift from traditional market to cryptocurrency market. According to a survey, the users of crypto application in Korea is around 7.6 million users, mainly from 20s, young generation, to 40s, middle age, who are much interested in investment portfolio. For Asia market, what is the amount of gaming market revenue in last year? It's also quiz. What is the amount of gaming market revenue in last year? Just raise your hand and tell me the number. Daily. No. Last year, 2003, the Asia's gaming market revenue. Okay, tell me. 60 billion. Okay, just whenever first come, first win. Okay, come here. The answer is 84 billion US dollar. What a huge it is. Oh, where are you from?
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Okay, I would like to visit there.
Please visit us.
You will buy dinner for me. Okay, so right now, Asia has become the largest gaming market in the world, which the 1.48 billion game users. Major countries such as Korea, Japan, and Vietnam are leading the trend because the new regulatory framework are encouraging blockchain as an innovative way with we call sandbox regulation. For real-world assets, RWA, DeFi, tokenization, and digital asset services. Emerging markets like China and Cambodia present opportunities and risks as well. Now, let's talk about next stage and trend of Asia Web3 games. Web3 technologies makes a significant change to reshape how game users create, play, and monetize. First, mobile game with AI tools and playable application, including Telegram. Gamers will become the stakeholder, such as on to, play to earn. This kind of ownership makes a new way of thinking for gaming. Once a gamer has this level of ownership, it becomes strange to play without it. The fusion of gaming and blockchain is bringing millions of users into crypto game ecosystem that gamers love to play and own digital assets. Second, scalability and transaction cost. So there will be a lot of discussion regarding the layer 2 solution with faster and less expensive way to resolve. Third, cross-chain compatibility is a key focus in Web3 game development to use across multiple games and platforms like FTN, Fasttoken, or TAP. Also, universal wallet to use across a variety of games. 4. X2 model will be more and more expanding, such as move to earn, learn to earn, create to earn. It's a way of combining real-world activity to use in-game reward. Lastly, tokenization of in-game assets and real-life connected payment gateway. So I view increasing use of layer 2 solution, AI and playable application with payment gate, including tokenization based on real-life connection using VR or digital twin technology will be the next stage of Web3. We can call it cross-game financial ecosystem. Now, opportunities for Bahamut and FTN partners. In terms of visibility, FTN partners will get access to the Asian market, creating new opportunity for growth. Please come to Asia with FTN's ecosystem. In addition, we'll get new partners and networks. You can connect with Asian users and investors. Also, we'll benefit from more interconnected Web3 ecosystem, including Bahamut mainnet. As you are aware, Bahamut is a leading blockchain infrastructure provider with the consensus POSA. Bahamut will bring expertise in validation, security, and scalability. The benefit for Bahamut as a validator, Bahamut can expand its validator operation into Asian market with various ASEAN blockchain startup participants. Doing business on Bahamut and become a validator on-chain, you earn more reward. In other words, become a validator on Bahamut, get strong network, get more reward when your token get used to. Then, what is Asteria's role in connecting FTN ecosystem to Asia? Asteria has a very strong point to enhance platform with modern functionality, with the very specialized Web3 game developing company. The name is iPrime, and decentralized management toolkit by blockchain as a service. Especially, Asteria and iPrime have a lot of Korea and Asia experts, including business development, reputable business, and regulatory framework in Web3 local market. So, Asteria and iPrime, in collaboration with FTN, we will do the following way. First, as a go-to-market expert and trusted partner, we aim to integrate FTN as a very reputable Web3 ecosystem in Asia market, including Bahamut mainnet. Multi-marketplace such as Otak, Popok, Property, Your Celebrium, Your Health. Third, we're fostering sound private community as well as public community for ecosystem users in Korea and Asia. According to this collaboration among FTN, Asteria, and iPrime, we are very confident that we can create the success story to become top cross-game financial ecosystem in our 24-hour daily real life for Korea and Asia Web3 market. That's all. Thanks for listening. And I look forward to talking with you on today's gala dinner and after party. Before finishing, I will ask the founder of iPrime to come up in floor. Pavel.
Thank you, Dr. James. Hello, and I'll also ask Mr. Abrahamyan, CEO of Fasttoken, to come up on stage.
Hello, everyone. Nice meeting you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello. It's always a pleasure to be witnessing and initiating a new beginning. We have started these negotiations quite short time ago, and now here we are with the formal signing and exchanging agreement, that is the beginning of something big, something very promising, entering one of the advanced markets in the world. And I'm sure that this is a fantastic example of mutually beneficial cooperation that the Fastex and ecosystem, along with the reputable partners, could be, whether it's country entrance, whether it's a particular area, and we are happy to be witnessing here in this point. And I'm sure that the next event would be the event where we could show the figures of the achievement so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will take a photo for shaking hand and open the agreement. Okay. Anna, where is Anna? Could you please take a beautiful photo? We will really make the success story for the collaboration of FTN ecosystem in Asia. And anyone in this room as a partner of the FTN, please, you can feel free to contact us at any time. We'll be your partner as well. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think it was a wonderful introduction and pretty fruitful cooperation coming soon. And for now, next up, we have Diana Partispanian, who will delve into the fascinating world of orthodoxy. Diana, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. It's great to be here in Ras Al Khaimah for Harmony Meetup. I really enjoy being here, and I hope you do as well. Do you? What makes today special is not only like the location with its stunning views in here, but also the fact that we have a chance to dive into some fresh ideas as we did already, and we are going to do, and some innovations in Web3. And by the way, who I haven't met, I'm Diana, and I'm really proud to be part of Bahamut ecosystem. And I've got some really interesting news and updates to share with you about Web3 and about our innovations that we're doing so far. So to show you how far actually we have come. So let's not waste time. And here's what we are going to talk about today. First of all, it is going to be Ortaxi, which is an NFT bridge, blockchain based. The next one is going to be YoQuest, which is Bahamut's loyalty program. And the last but not least, we are going to talk about the latest updates on DeFi platforms that currently run on Bahamut network. So let's start with Ortaxi. Actually, you have heard a lot about Ortax, like these days, but Ortaxi is completely different thing. Actually, they share the same naming, but Ortaxi is a secure blockchain-based NFT bridge that connects Bahamut with Ethereum. So now you may ask yourself, why do we actually need an NFT bridge? Well, based on yesterday's raffle, I know that most of you here are already owners of Ortax NFT, right? And by the way, congratulations to the winner yesterday of the raffle. I don't know if he's here, but let's clap for him. And we're going to know the next winner tonight. So let's get back to the topic. Now, as you are part of the community of Ortax NFTs, you may be wondering, why do we actually need this Ortax bridge, NFT bridge? Well, here's the thing. Before, if you needed to have or list an NFT on another blockchain, you needed to sell your NFTs beforehand. Then buy a new NFT on another blockchain, which is actually a long time consuming process and also expensive process. So Bridge actually now solves this problem by allowing users to transfer their NFTs to another blockchain in an efficient manner, meaning that now you can trade your NFTs on any blockchain that the bridge supports. So for example, if you want to sell your Ortax NFT in OpenSea, no problem. That is more than possible right now. You can do that with Ortaxi. You can transfer your NFTs to Ethereum, and you're good to go. You will access a whole new market. But it's not only about NFTs. Actually, Ortaxi also supports cryptocurrencies like FTN and also stablecoins like USDT and USDC. So you can transfer your cryptocurrencies from one blockchain to another one in just few clicks in couple of seconds. And that's it. You can go and check yourself all of this information and all of these functionalities in ortaxi.com. So the next topic will be YoQuest, which is a brand new loyalty program for Bahamut Network, which rewards the users with experience points for participating in platforms activities, for completing quizzes, for being just active and just being part of the community. So these actually are not just some kind of meaningless points. They actually can be redeemed for rewards later on. And who knows what these rewards will be one day. And the meaning behind and the idea behind YoQuest isn't just to gamify the experience, but to build a community, like interesting and engaged community that feels connected to the platforms they use on Bahamut Network, being that DeFi applications or any other platforms. So you as a user, we're not going to be passive participants, but you are going to be active contributors to the system, to the ecosystem. And it's also about building connections. So every experience point earned strengthens the community. So it's a win-win situation. Users gain value and the ecosystem grows stronger. But this is just the very, very beginning of YoQuest. I would even say this is just a quick recap of what is YoQuest. You're going to hear a lot more about it very, very soon. So I would just say stay tuned. And the next topic, let's see what we have, what kind of updates we have for Bahamut Network's decentralized finance products. And believe me, there is a lot to be excited about, especially the numbers. So first up, it's Mutuari, which is a decentralized lending and borrowing platform that currently operates on Bahamut, and it currently holds over $7 million in all cryptocurrencies together. And as based on the fact that this product was launched recently, a couple of months, I would say that this means that there is a lot of trust from the community. And I would even say, let's be honest, trust is the real currency in Web3. So just a quick recap, what is Mutuari for those who don't know. Mutuari is like a bank, but instead of going to the physical branch, you can access it every time, every day, anytime you need, 24/7, without the need to fill out any forms or something like that. You can just connect your Web3 wallet to the platform, and you're good to go. You will see all the available cryptocurrencies there. You will check the lending and borrowing rates, and based on what you see, you can decide what you need to do there. It's very, very simple. And the next one is Lolik staking that continues to impress with over 25 million FTNs already staked in the pool, which, by the way, equals to more than $80 million, right? If I'm not mistaken, yes. So Lolik is like when you are staking your FTNs in Lolik, is meaning that you are supporting Bahamut's network and you are growing your own assets. So it's like doing something good and being rewarded for that. And I'm sure everyone likes that. But there is no DeFi infrastructure or ecosystem that could be complete or could be considered complete without the main things in there, which are decentralized exchanges. And here is where Hujada and SilkSwap come in, the two decentralized exchanges that currently run on Bahamut Network. And they offer seamless user experience and low-cost transactions or token swaps. But not only that, also there are advanced features like adding liquidity pools and custom token swaps and any other Web3 tool that one will need to complete this infrastructure. So all of these platforms together, they, I would say, not only improve finance, but also they're revolutionizing it. And I guess we're witnessing the birth of a new era in decentralized finance. So there you have it, an overview of incredible developments happening on Bahamut Network, starting from Ortaxi, the bridge, and YoQuest, going to our ever-growing DeFi platforms. I would definitely say that Bahamut is making its mark in Web3. And I really find it exciting, and I really think that you think the same way, because we are building an ecosystem that, first of all, it's efficient, it's user-driven, and most importantly, it's fun. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the Harmony Meetup. See you.
Thank you, Diana. And I think that most of you remember how we started this all. How was the first Harmony meetup? How we launched the Bahamut blockchain. So now it's the right time to remember how it started, how long was the journey, and where are we now? Please, your attention to the screen.
From its inception, Harmony Meetup has been more than an event. It's shaped a movement, a long journey through innovation, collaboration, leading to the future of technology. November 2022 marked a leap into the Web3 era, showcasing the integration of decentralized systems into real-world applications. By December 2023, Harmony Meetup developed into an arena to showcase the AI revolution, exploring the synergies between artificial intelligence and decentralized technologies. In July 2024, we explored the paradox of centralization within decentralization, pushing the boundaries of collaboration and innovation. And now, the journey has expanded our boundaries to Ras Al Khaimah, to shape the future of Web3 and beyond with global thinkers and visionaries. FastTech proudly celebrates the Harmony Meetup legacy, a global movement that unites ideas, collaboration, and innovation. Together, we're shaping the digital future.
You may already notice that we are getting ready for our panel discussion, but I have a question for you. Is there anybody from our guests here that was on first ever Harmony Meetup? If yes, please let us know. Please raise your hand or shake. Oh, I see so many. So guys, do you see the difference? Do you see where have we been and where are we now? If yes, we all want to hear that. With a round of your applause, and thanks to all the teams that worked so hard for all these projects. Thank you so much for your attention and your time. And now, as you may guess already, we're ready for our panel discussion. And for that, I want to ask to join me on this stage, my colleague, Jeff Wilser. Hello, Jeff. Thank you.
Hello. Welcome. My name is Jeff Wilser. I am thrilled to be here. I'm a writer at CoinDesk and host of the podcast AI Curious. What an amazing event. Thank you again. And our panel, I am thrilled for, because as the main theme we just heard is excitement, growth on so many different aspects of Web3, crypto, blockchain, where we're going. This next panel will dive into all of that and be at the forefront, the very cutting edge of Web3 crypto. We'll hit regulation, we'll hit gaming, we'll hit AI, hit NFTs. There is so much growth Delighted to dive into it. And we have an absolute murderer's row of smart panelists to discuss all of this from all the relevant angles. So please, panelists, gentlemen, come on stage. And we have to start Jerry Afantakis of Zodiac Custody. Jerry, welcome. And of course, it would not be complete without Bakhtin Abrahamian, Fasttoken CEO.
Hey.
Carl Talais, founder of iAdvisory. Tim Chen, MSA Capital. And Igor Archipenko, Dubai Blockchain Center. Gentlemen, welcome. Excited to be here to chat with you on all these issues. There's so much ground we'll cover, but let's start with something I know is important in various ways to all of you, and that is regulation and how central that is to the story right now of blockchain, where we're headed. Let's start with Fasttoken. Let's start with you. Given how I think regulation and compliance is in your bones, in the DNA of the projects, of doing things in the right, transparent way. Talk about, I think people hear regulation in almost an abstract way. They hear, oh, it's important, but they don't really get it. Talk about why it's so important for the overall space to have clarity of regulation.
Thanks. Welcome again, guys. It's always a pleasure to share ideas and, talk about, particularly regulation, because as we see that Fasttoken started about 3 years ago, and at that time, the regulation was quite theoretical aspects, rather than nowadays, when we are talking about, implementing travel rule like the banks are doing in crypto sphere, or integrating with some financial institutions, particularly applying AML, CFT regulation, and a number of others. Why it is so? Because first, the regulators themselves dive into this, understood that this is inevitable, the Web3, and the sooner the regulation comes, the better consumer rights would be protected, which is key, both from our perspective as a business and from the perspective of the customers, because the first thing they want is the trust to the platform, and the trust comes with the idea of whether my funds are safe and secure, or my assets. And regulation, in my understanding, brings that assurance that there is someone over there, though this is the decentralized world, this is the crypto assets, and the pure essence of the decentralization is that nobody controlling us, etc. It seems that the page is turning off, and now we are talking mostly about the type of the financial institutions that are being licensed, that are being, regulated in a sense, and through that providing more comfort to the customers so they could trust us, and to the financial institutions, on the other hand, to cooperate with us, opening a bank account, issuing the card, whatever is Fasttoken is doing now, is within that dimension.
Jerry, what do you add to that perspective of Zodiac?
I think, first of all, I agree with everything that was just said. I'd see it also maybe from another perspective, which is, what do we care about in any market in the world is liquidity. And what is regulation? Regulation is the deconstruction of a bottleneck to liquidity, because we've seen in crypto over the last, whatever it's been, 10, 12 years, 14 years, has been essentially a retail-driven market. And there's only so much liquidity that retail can bring. What we're all looking for, desperately hoping for, is the influx of institutional capital. And institutions can and will only come when there is a playing field that's been defined. And that's what regulation is. So regulation, like custody, like all of these things, are fundamentally probably the least interesting things to discuss in crypto. We didn't enter this market
But the most
for
important,
that.
right?
But they're so important because without them, the thing doesn't come to life. And we've seen it now just with the ETFs, and that's just the beginning of what's happening. When regulation comes, liquidity comes, and when liquidity comes, we all win.
people forget that, when you hear Wild Wild West, that metaphor is in the U.S. in the 1840s, 50s, whatever. You'll forget there actually wasn't, the growth wasn't in that environment. Yeah, it's cool. They're on horses and have rifles, but you're not seeing much growth, right? You actually didn't get skyscrapers until regulation. Carl, what do you say are the most important trends in regulation right now? What's kind of shifting from your perspective?
I think first and foremost, it's collaboration that's opened up in a lot of new markets. And I think what you're seeing, we're seeing a lot of this activity here. The appetite for collaboration to develop use cases which add value into an ecosystem cross-industry, I think that's where the real focus is right now. You're going to start to see expanded sandbox environments with the regulators, and we're seeing it already right now. This week has been a really big week in the UAE. If you go from the beginning of the week, you had the Bitcoin Media Conference, you had Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and now you've got this amazing event with Fasttoken. All of that is the collaborative efforts of regulators working closely with institutional players and the dynamic innovation ecosystem.
And Carl, for those who are not as closely following this, can you elaborate on the importance of sandbox experiments, why they matter, and how if they break right, if things go right, that could be massive for the space?
Yeah, look, it's critical for trust. If you want to look at the word, probably at the center of everything related to the evolution of the digital assets markets, the crypto market, but in more general, the data as an asset of value, it's trust. And trust can only be given and granted once you've got the right players in the room who already have that built in. And obviously government has that, big brand institutions have that, but they haven't done it easily. And what they want to do is look at how do we work within an environment where you have a controlled, I won't say controlled, but let's just say a defined list of agreed services and solutions which tick the boxes of current regulation or require new regulation to be adapted. And so you're seeing right now consultation papers which are being released. Those will then go into action in relation to feedback which is coming back in. But that feedback really needs to go into, again, an environment where you can trial some of these services. You can, look at within that framework, is there a path here for an entity that can add value in a different mechanism? And, whether it's staking, whether it's investments, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's got to be within that environment. And then out of that, you can start to have the trust of the region and then globalized trust. And so that really is the opportunity. And it's something which I think is going to accelerate over the next sort of period. And then as those use cases come to market, you'll start to see, industry players collaborating with the likes of Fasttoken to bring some of those solutions to market.
Amazing. And one thing that was very clear in the last couple of sessions is how much is going on, right? And so I think subtext there is crypto/Web3 is not a monolith. It's not homogenous. There's a lot of different elements. Tim, what I'm guessing regulation is not just like one size fits all, and it's all DeFi, all NFT, right? What in your mind is the kind of easier or the most straightforward thing for regulation, and what are the corners of the space that are still trickiest to get right and might be most challenging to eventually crack?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, so we're a global investment fund, venture capital at our core. But on that question, I think it's a trickle-down effect. You have to start with the low-hanging fruit, and part of that is necessitated by where you see user demand and adoption. And then the regulators will slowly move towards, the long tail of where the market would appreciate that regulation. But when we think about regulation, when we underwrite deals, it's somewhat binary. We either put it in as a catalyst or we put it in as a risk as part of our underwriting due diligence, right? And back to what my colleague said, I think it's paramount that at foundational level, it is about trust. But more importantly, putting on my venture capital hat, it's about distribution. How do you get access to liquidity? So I'll give you an example. Before Bitcoin ETFs came out, pitching Bitcoin to your grandma was still a very hard pitch. But all of a sudden, because it's now regulated. It's wrapped in an ETF wrapper that they understand. It's available on Fidelity or Schwab, on these interactive brokers that they're familiar with, and all of a sudden it's backed by a credible, long-standing institution like BlackRock. They get it. But what has changed other than regulation, making it easy for them to understand and feel safe? So that's why when we look at regulation, it's a tricky thing, but yeah, we underwrite it through the lens of can it enable faster adoption.
Thank you. Igor, I'd love to hear from your perspective and Dubai's Blockchain Center's perspective on regulation. Obviously, you guys are at the forefront of this. What is your thoughts on kind of where this is headed, and what are the biggest challenges still to overcome?
Yeah, so I can say from a perspective of the, let's say, developers of from a tech side, I'm working a lot with the development teams and so on, and I believe we should be like collaborative, like as a community of the tech people, the developers, the technologies, we should be collaborative. Because imagine you are like, when you are saying Wild West, when you, let's say, you are a developer or inventor of the car, and then you are against of traffic rules, right? So like, what will happen? It's just not scalable approach, right? So like, we have to be collaborative and support the government and find a way how we can collaborate together to bring these technologies and adopt the technologies for regulators. And saying from a Dubai perspective of like, I cannot say from Dubai perspective, but from the solutions that we are implementing, the adoption is there, is already here, and there are a lot of solutions that are already implemented here. And that's a good sign, I mean, like sign from both sides, from a development side and from a government side, the adoption will be here and the regulation will be really, really good. And again, it's about the trust. So like I fully agree with everyone that it's about the trust and it's not about the regulations, let's say.
You guys are in violent agreement on the importance of this and trust. I have a jump ball question for you. Anyone can answer this. Let's say someone gives you a magic wand. You have the power to make whatever regulation you want. What is the elements in there you want to be sure is added? There are no lawyers in the room, promise. You will not get in trouble for this. Or if that's too scary. Is there any elements that you think is, however this works out, it's important we do X, or I want to see Y?
I'll answer it maybe tangentially. The rainbow scenario is a global, homogeneous regulatory regime where every country and every region in the world, we've seen it in Europe now with this thing called MiCA, where we have like a pan-European regulatory regime for digital assets. The rainbow scenario is that expands everywhere and everyone in the world is playing by the same rules and knows that the playing field is equal.
For me, the standardization is one thing, which is very important to make sure that the interoperability sort of an environment exists globally, because a blockchain and borders or national regulations sometimes contradicts each other with its philosophy. And the second part, what they shouldn't do, definitely, is to try to copy-paste the current financial regulation onto the digital assets.
Yep.
This is very important because there are objective limitations and fundamental differences where you cannot apply the regulation in the same way. It's very important, I think.
Any other wants to chime in on?
I'll add to that in that it's all about the ability to pivot as you see change, right? So and consultation is a really important part of the equation, because when you have consultation, you can start to bring in the ecosystem input at the current stage, but with a future view of where it needs to go. And so if you have that collaboration across hubs, financial hubs, for example, where you have institutions already participating and regulated in the current environment, you don't want to lay it out straight on top. But what you want to do is bring the governance and the compliance mandates that were applied in that world, but adjusted specifically for where this could go. And I think this is where, if you have cross-regional alignment on some of the regulatory arbitrage, that then makes it a lot more seamless for you to then globalize your operation and then enter these new markets. Whether you're going from east to west, you want a smooth process in between, right? And that journey has got to be essentially frictionless in terms of how you enter a market and how you then apply those services. So the easier that can be done, requires a lot of collaboration, consultation, I think the better. And that's where things are going.
I think that this kind of smoothly feeds into this more even a broader topic about adoption and what it will take. Everyone in this room, obviously, everyone watching, almost by definition, we're all embracing Web3 crypto. We're a very self-selecting crowd, right? But to get the next billion people, 5 billion, the normies, what else are we talking about? Regulation clearly is a big part of it. We've covered that. Trust is good. All the grandmas out there. I feel like also poor grandmas. There are probably a lot of like very Web3 savvy grandmas. I was like, hey, I have my wallet. You know. So we get to get the grandmas. What else will it take? Tim, what in your mind is critical that the space needs to get right to bring on all the normies?
Yeah, so I think that's a two-part question. The first is rather, when we say we onboard the masses, do they have it just in their pension and 401k plans, or are they actually using it day to day in some kind of product, right? And back to the earlier question of waving a magic wand, I think it's less hand-wavy, but rather a matter of when. So for example, before we had the retail come in, then hedge funds, and then institutions. The last group to be peeled into Bitcoin will be sovereign wealth funds and nation states. And no one cared or made that much fuss when El Salvador put it on their treasury, but they started turning heads when Milei talked about it in Argentina. And they sure are doing it now when Trump is threatening, or not threatening, but insinuating that we'll add it as American to the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So what happens when these game theory factors take shape and you have Norwegian sovereign wealth funds, Singapore, these larger ones start playing in as well, right? At that point, Bitcoin adoption should increase. We'll see it penetrate the likes of the 401k, pensions, endowments, etc. Then on the other hand, we're talking about, okay, what is the actual use case? And if we look at it today, transparently, outside of stable coins, which is a phenomenal use case, there really isn't that much, I would argue. But what is exciting is if we haven't seen a strong enough product with long enough staying power other than what we see in this current cycle, which is memetics. But that's a great place to start because essentially you're tokenizing attention. And I'm excited to see what people can build on top of that in terms of like a product with staying power.
Hot take and some real talk from Tim. Appreciate that. Igor, for your perspective, what else do we need to get the grandmas?
I always believe in very simple things. So when people can, when they can pay with the crypto, this is adoption. So like 2 years ago, I was not able to send USDT, let's say, somewhere in Kenya as salary because people was asking what I will do with it, right? So like how I can, withdraw. And then like Binance came, and then like crypto cards came, and now they're like, okay, you just send me like now because I need money, and you send me now like USDT, and they just go and pay with this USDT somewhere in their shop. So it's about the instruments, about the tools, the access to these tools, for everyone, because nobody cares, like what is this USDT or it's like Bitcoin. Like if I have my essential like needs and I need to do something today, I just need a tool to do that, right? To complete this transaction, whatever it is. Or I want to buy some real estate somewhere in some one part of the world. I'm an investor and I'm just sitting here and I need just a tool. That's it. So like I believe in this, simple tools and the tools for the real needs, because we have a lot, NFTs, meme coins. People like, okay, what is this? How I can use it in my real life, right? So like, yeah, if I'm a trader, if I'm like, an investor, that's okay. But if we are saying about the mass adoption, about billions, like we just have to bring simple tools, and then like these billions will come and they will use it.
I'd like to echo a lot of those points that are raised. And if you look at the global population, right, there's about 9 billion people on Earth. There's still half of that population to come online. And that half that's to come online is going to come online in the mobile world. And so the mobile digital wallet experience needs to be as frictionless as possible. And the onboarding process needs to be as frictionless as possible. And so the integration with platforms like FastX and others is really important to be very seamless in how I use the digital asset that I have in my wallet and be able to onboard on-ramp and off-ramp very seamlessly. If you start to look at the generations of wealth, and that's a really important equation, right? So at the moment, that sits with Generation X. Fast track in the next 10 years, it's probably going to be sitting with the millennials / the Gen A's and others. So as they enter the workforce, it's going to become a default in terms of they're going to expect to transact using digital assets because they're already born into that realm, which is the digital realm, the online realm. And so it's not. There's two equations there. One is where does the wealth sit? How do I get it off ramp, on ramp, seamlessly? The other equation is the demographic.
The problem solving itself to some extent as the world gets younger.
We're going there. We're going there. And mobile is currently the platform. In the future, there may be automation behind a lot of the others. Yeah.
Vox, I'm very curious for your perspective on this. Obviously, so much of FastX's North Star is getting mainstream adoption around the globe. On top of regulation, what else is crucial to you?
Yeah, just amending whatever my colleague says and fully agree. I think the awareness and education is very key for, there are so many myths around the digital assets, etc., that you need to break through the knowledge. And the recent cooperation that we did with the State University of Armenia, for example, is to set up the master class for blockchain and digital assets topic, which is to create this layer of experts and specialists in the domain through them to, extend this knowledge to mass population. And if we see on particular the domains where the mass adoption may come very easily, definitely it's the payments, and why not the remittances in particular. And that's why our initiatives in deploying the AMDT and the AMDC, the stable coins, where this could jump in immediately to the masses through these remittance rails to provide, seamless transactions and the services that they used to have on a different form through different assets is something that could be useful in terms of they have an experience of making payments, transfers, etc. Now it's done through the different means, which is, on one hand, there is a knowledge, basic knowledge, then some advancements need. So those are the incremental way of, bringing the more population into this.
That's a good point. It's not an all or nothing. Yeah. There can be an incremental process here.
Absolutely.
Jerry, any other final thoughts on what else is needed and your elements that people aren't talking about enough?
Always have thoughts. Look, the adoption of anything has to do with the confidence that people have in that thing. And if we cast our minds back even 4, 5, 6 years, you had the early adopters of this movement, of these assets, of the whole Web3 ecosystem, and then you had the mainstream financial institutions, all of whom, firstly, didn't have products they could sell themselves, therefore couldn't monetize it. And secondly, all of whom were, with varying degrees, very bearish crypto. So that gives the average guy who trusts these mainstream incumbent financial institutions pause and makes him reluctant to take the next step. Fast forward to today, many of these global financial institutions have realized a number of things. Number one is that the movement isn't going anywhere, right? It's survived bear market after bear market after bear market. We're all still here. Number two, they've realized that their competitors are starting to create and offer digital asset products.
And they almost have to survive.
And so they have the FOMO, and they're like, dude, if I don't do it myself, my customers are going to go there. And there's tangible evidence of that, which we'll talk about another time. And then three, if you're a traditional financial institution, most of these guys are publicly listed. You have a fiduciary duty to make money for your shareholders, right? Providing digital asset services, like I'm, as a bank, let's say hypothetically, I'm going to give my client base the opportunity to buy, hold, and then sell digital assets, right? That's very, very vanilla. It speaks also to adoption because all of a sudden it becomes easy for those banks' clients. But if I'm the bank, these guys are charging 200 basis points, up to 200 basis points spread every time somebody buys and every time somebody sells. Guys, that's a bonanza. There's no other business center in those financial institutions that can make that can generate that type of spread and that kind of revenue. So they don't need to believe in digital assets. They just need to believe in making money.
Right.
And then what happens is that the moment these guys have products they can sell, what's the next thing that happens? The CIO goes on stage and he says, hey, by the way, you know what? That Bitcoin thing that we said wasn't very great. We kind of think it's a new asset class, and we kind of think that it might make sense for you to have 0.5% of your portfolio holding this asset or that asset. Why? Because obviously they're going to monetize that. And number two, coming back to the beginning, what that means is that the public narrative starts to change. You have the people who, from a financial architecture perspective, are listened to globally, starting to change the way they talk about the asset class. And then it becomes real. And then at the same time as that, you have, like my colleagues were saying, you have the ability to more easily consume. You don't have to open a MetaMask wallet and do a bunch of different stuff and talk about private keys and public keys and stuff that many people are reluctant. It makes them scared, this idea. You can just do it through your regular channels. And so I think we're seeing that happening right now.
Given all that, is it fair to say for everyone in this room and everyone watching, it's still early? We're still early, right? Given how these larger institutions are just starting to move their aircraft carrier, which is very slow to pivot in the ocean. Still early. One thing that Carl mentioned a moment ago that I think is part of this equation is the importance of private-public partnerships and collaboration, Web3 projects with more traditional finance and governments. Carl, let me elaborate on that. I know kind of why that matters. And obviously, there are a lot of collaborations we've already seen, including your FastX. Talk about why that's important and why that will be likely to continue going forward.
It's critical because if you look at the strategy of economies, they're evolving into this space. All right? There's a lot of visions and mandates out there around digital economy, data economy, evolution of economies in that world. It's really important to look at what's the current world economy looking like and how does it transition by industry. And then you start to narrate that. If I take a very simple equation on this, AI is accelerating data, right? And it's exponential and it's going to continue. Where does it sit? It sits currently in a centralized world, but in a decentralized world, it doesn't need to.
Right.
So now you start to look at where can it sit, right? You start to look at a city structure today. You've got buildings everywhere in prime locations. Where can potentially those prime locations host that data? And then that becomes in an environment which is, number one, decentralized. And there are models out there. I'm in a number of entities I'm advising in that space. And then you start to look at, okay, if you layer on top of the decentralized model, obviously a digital asset model, so in this instance, decentralized storage, and you start to look at that, you're requiring a couple of things. You're requiring collaboration with the buildings. You're requiring collaboration with government in treating the data as an asset. And then you're collaborating with the Web3 players in bringing a value to the data. And that value comes from token economics, right? So we start to look at that and you say, okay, that's one industry. That's one transformation. You've got many players involved here. The collaboration is a public-private sector collaboration engagement. And so you're going to find that across industry, whether it moves into, obviously in the financial service sector, we're seeing a lot of this from from an on-ramp, off-ramp and institutional funding side. But I think this is where the real innovation is. And then you start to look at the experiences that come with that for the different entities. So that to me is critical to look at.
And obviously, there are many different types of collaborations that could also include investments. Yep. Jared, congratulations on your recent news. Zodia, talk a bit about this new investment, why it matters, and then kind of how that helps move the ball forward on overall trust and adoption.
Sure. So I'm sure most of the members of the audience aren't familiar with Zodia Custody. It's a custody business, the most boring part of the crypto ecosystem. So great choice, Jerry. we're owned by Standard Chartered Bank originally. We now have a number of other kind of global tier one financial institutions who are the shareholders: Northern Trust, SBI, Digital Holdings of Japan, National Australia Bank, Investcorp, and as of yesterday, Emirates NDB Bank here around the corner. Why is that important? It's important because it gives people confidence in us, right? Each one of these relatively high profile and competent global financial institutions has done a deep dive due diligence into our operations, our tech infrastructure, our security infrastructure. They have all agreed and decided that it is robust. They are all not only, well, not all, but most of them are not only investors into Zodia, but also users of Zodia for themselves or for their own clients. Standard Chartered Bank here in the UAE, as an example. So what does that mean? That means that our business is to give comfort that you who hold things that are valuable can keep them securely with Zodia. Each new tier one investor that we have gives extra comfort to that. And then obviously by implication, I can't talk about it too much because it's not for me to speak on anyone's behalf, but you know, if you're a bank and you're investing in a digital asset custodian, it's not because you threw the dart and you said, hey, that's what I'm going to do. It's because you have plans that involve digital assets. And so that gives confidence that yet another prominent global and regional firm is taking that step.
One more bullish signal. One thing we haven't yet fully discussed, I think it's part of this puzzle, is infrastructure. Tim, what do you see as still essential infrastructure that needs to be either built out or scaled, doesn't exist but needs to, or needs to be improved and optimized? What are we missing still?
Yeah, I think the craziest thing I've seen in the past 3 months is this app called Moonshot. I don't know if anyone here has heard of it or seen it, but it allows you can download it on the Apple App Store. We're not investors, so we're not affiliated with it, but you could download it from the Apple App Store, and you can top up via Venmo, MoonPay, etc., and directly buy and trade memes. It's ridiculous. It's now given memes power of immense distribution, although the volumes are still low relative to Coinbase and a Robinhood. But you know, what's exciting to me is seeing that infrastructure, I think, has always been there and is beget by applications and demand. And so once we hit the Pico of this cycle, we see additional demand through meme coins or whatever assets, you'll see infrastructure catch up. So I think what we look for is usually what is that next app that can drive insane demand and consumer interest.
Igor, I'd love to pivot now to kind of and you kind of touched upon this, Tim, right now, the latest innovations in the space. I think a lot of what we discussed so far is kind of like the broccoli and Brussels sprouts that are important for a healthy space. Regulation, clarity, trust, that's healthy. Let's go to kind of the fun stuff of use cases, games, NFTs, the desserts and ice cream, if you will. Igor, let's start with gaming. Why is gaming have such potential to drive demand, to drive interest in a space, and to onboard more people? And then anyone could jump in on what excites you about the gaming space right now.
Thank you. I'm not from the gaming, so quite difficult to answer for me. But in general, people are sitting in all the social media, TikTok, Instagram, and instead of that, you can really have a good games and play and earn, and maybe that games also could be from with the educational part and so on. So definitely the game and the crypto within the game is a very important part, because you are not just spending a time somewhere, consuming some, I don't know, which kind of content, but game at least, gives some kind of self-development sometimes, and I believe in that. And if you are a good game development company, definitely you will bring a good solution to the market, and people can have a benefits out of that. So that's my point.
Absolutely. The numbers are there, right? There are billions of gamers on the planet. It's in a way that one thing that unites billions of people is not not politics, not even TV, but gaming. Blockchain, obviously, the FastX ecosystem is in a vibrant space for kind of growth in games. Talk about what you're seeing from a gaming perspective and why that matters going forward.
Gaming is one part, actually. We are thinking more on also the real-world asset tokenization concept, and ORTAC actually is best representation of what we were focusing mostly, where the gaming industry would level up in terms of, securitizing or whatever that relates to the real-world asset tokenization, in terms of offering the customers also the investment opportunity, which is becoming part of the business, financing the business and getting the rewards, which is very important both in gaming, in other domains, which is the transparency, where you could see that whatever is written, whatever is in a smart contract is it, nothing else. Whereas in case of centralized solutions, mostly we have the legacy systems with number of, obstacles and limitations. And if we come back to your previous question of public-private partnership again, here is the most dangerous obstacles, where it faced the resistance from the public institutions, where they have legacy systems of 10, 20 years of legacy in, and nobody wants to make changes. And there you come this collapse where, again, it's not mutually exclusive.
Right.
It's amendment or improvement that needs to be done through the cooperation. And gaming is also one of the areas where you have a mass adoption and mass, direct access to the masses, through which you could also get them used to new technology, new futures, whether it's NFTs.
Kind of a gateway drug, if you will. They start there and then go on to other things.
Yeah. Once you
don't do drugs. That was not endorsement. No, absolutely. And Jerry, how about you? What use cases most excites you right now? Where do you see a lot of growth? Whether it's NFTs, whether it's the metaverse, anything else we haven't covered yet? What's a corner of the space that really fires you up?
Are we talking gaming specific?
No, just more broadly in Web3 crypto. Because there's so many different elements right in our prior panels and discussions. It's mind-blowing how much is happening right now. Jump ball for anyone, curious, what are the use cases and the surprising ways people are using blockchain tech? Like, oh my God, in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, this is really going to grow and become more mainstream.
I'm definitely the least qualified person to answer that question.
Tim,
I'm the most boring guy on the panel.
We'll give you a call a friend lifeline. Tim, go for it.
Sorry, so this is a very contrarian view, but I think I'm pretty medium and long-term bullish on NFTs making a comeback, specifically anything from 10K PFP collections. And the reason is because if we look at the long arc of humanity and how we organize ourselves, right? It's always been tribalism, identity, whether that is based on civilization or nation states or what sports team we represent. But in the past 100 years, we've slowly migrated our identity from the meat space into radio, television, online, right? So if we spend now, I think 50% of our time online, what is our digital identity online, right? That was the original premise of NFTs. But if we then get another tailwind from the likes of AR, VR, gaming as another Trojan horse to help us spend more time in the digital world, humans will do what humans do, which is we'll segregate ourselves into some kind of tribalism, right? So, for example, I can be in the side of CryptoPunks, you can be on Bored Apes, etc. So I think in the medium to long term, we'll find ourselves back into using NFTs from a PFP perspective as virtual representations of our identity on chain, and that will have value.
I don't think we are allowed legally to be at a tech conference without discussing AI right now. So I'd love to hear from you guys on kind of two sides of the coin. And Carl briefly mentions AI. I'd love to hear more about how you see AI powering crypto and blockchain Web3, and also conversely, how blockchain, crypto can help build better AI
if that's something you guys are bullish on. If not,
Yeah.
you need to go there. But what are your thoughts and jump ball on how the collision of a space between crypto AI?
In fact, it's an area that I'm actually currently involved in, so I've seen a lot of this transition. But elevate some of the things that Tim was saying around what's coming. If you think of AI as a representation of how fast and efficient things can become, regardless of where we are in Web 2.0, and then extrapolate that into the Web 3 world. Let's look at it from the angle of, having an autonomous generative AI agent that represents you, right? And then that AGI is talking to other AGIs, and that starts to communicate on a level which is cross-node in a decentralized world. That is something which we're starting to see now as being the next evolution towards where we're going to go with AI. I think what you're going to see there is the power of Web3 layered within that framework. And so there are evolution steps within that. You need the, let's just say, the partnerships on the node structures to be in place for that to start to accelerate. And I think you're going to see some of that acceleration. On the efficiency side, I actually wrote a white paper about 3 years ago. It was called Economics and AI in the topic.
Before it was cool, before the hype.
It was
So,
very
well done,
strange.
sir.
I'm not going to bore you to death with how it came to life, but basically it was back in 2021. It was born out of a conversation on what is AI's impact on society. And what was interesting with that conversation I was having on stage is, there is the notion of infusing humanoid robots with algorithms to then represent that algorithm that infuses into a robot could then trigger the robot to behave like a human. But if you think about it, that's in the physical world. What if we had an algorithm representing us in the digital world? In that world, nobody knew the word metaverse back then, or there was very minimal understanding of it. What if in that world, the algorithm worked for me and transited and did things based on my own interests and my own parameters and gave me back this thing called physical time, which is what we're doing right now. We're all sitting here in a conference, we're communicating, we're networking, but more importantly is technology is supposed to give you back time. AI is meant to do the same thing. In fact, it's supposed to shrink a lot of the monotonous tasks to allow you to get there. If that's happening for you while you're offline, now you can see what the opportunity is. So the real-world evolution of the metaverse, or if you speak to Apple, they call it the immersive experience. If you speak to Meta, it's a metaverse. It doesn't matter. It's the high-fidelity digital world. We're going there.
Wow.
And
my
that's
mind's
what's
still blown
coming.
right now. My AI agent, as we're speaking, is being so productive, by the way.
So we're going there. We're going there. And now, what's the economic of value within that world?
Yeah.
It's everything we're talking about here, right? And so our kids are already playing in that world. They're playing Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, whatever it is. They're trading digital assets, skins, whatever it is. They're going to look for that world in a different way. You've already got ministries of governments in the metaverse, in the immersive. So this is already happening. AI agents, if they represent me, and I give it autonomy to go and do things based on my own framework, and it works for me while I'm offline, that's a different equation now.
Amazing. So as we wind down here, last few questions. I'd love to discuss for a moment the elephant in the room that's rarely talked about on stage at crypto conferences, but always spoken about when folks are having coffee, and that's the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, right? I've been covering this for CoinDesk for many, many years. Everyone says, oh, builders say, founders say, price doesn't matter. But does anyone in this room think price doesn't matter at all, right? So as far as narratives, it can matter. As far as how the press is covering the space, it can matter. Again, the jump ball. How would you guys say price matter? Or if it doesn't matter at all, that's cool. But in your mind, the fact that Bitcoin is at $100,000, that to me does not feel irrelevant. That does not feel like it doesn't matter. It feels like something is happening there. How do you guys think about price?
Key word for me is inflation. If I think about where potentially price can be, it's irrelevant. What's more relevant is what is the cost of living pressure that we're going through now with the current environment. And I think this equation there, when people look at Bitcoin and the price of that, we all look at the historical acceleration of that asset. But if you start to look at what's happening in our current assets that we use, the value is being eroded through inflation. And so I think there is an element there of, well, there's got to be some way where I can offset that equation. And the natural curve is speaking for itself. We're seeing that happening. And if you look at that long cycle, the adoption curves, everything we're talking about, there is potentially an opportunity to have that as an offset. And I think this is why the strength is probably going to continue in many different ways. We saw even this week, there was a vote, I think, with Microsoft shareholders to consider adding BTC onto the balance sheet. And it was rejected, but what's interesting is it was considered.
Yeah.
So now you start to look at where we're going.
Anyone else?
I think we need to fundamentally change how we think about price. So, for example, 50 years ago, if we're looking at fundamental value investing, right, price is what you back into it via DCF. You think it's worth this, you think it's worth that. You can justify it based on cash flow, whatever. Then you fast forward in the 2000s, looking at tech companies, people cared less about that, right? You have unprofitable companies like Amazon trading at immense PE multiples. Why is that? Because then people are assigning value to network effects. They're assigning value to the ability to scale and the pace of growth. And price was a byproduct of that. Now, then fast forward to where digital assets are. You can't use that same framework on digital assets. Digital assets, the token is the product and price is the marketing. The way you have to think about it is price reflects the current level of enthusiasm and attention that the token, the product, is capturing today. And so I think we need a fundamental shift in how how larger funds and institutions think about this to enable mass adoption.
Great point. Last couple questions. I love that this panel represents folks from literally around the world. I'd love to talk for a moment about global adoption. We kind of covered global adoption on like a topic basis. So let's for a moment discuss it on like a geographic region basis. Where do you guys see the next several years? Where on the globe do you think we'll see kind of the most expansion and growth in the Web3 crypto ecosystem?
Well, in my understanding, taking into account the recent developments in the United States and the election, we may witness the radical shift in terms of regulation in the United States towards more favorable sort of a regime, whereas what we have been witnessing through the previous years. And this may drive the global trend of the regulation as well. So we have the pioneers now, whether it's United Arab Emirates or Hong Kong or even the European Union in a sense of MiCA regulation, etc. But the United States remains the key as a global economy and dollar, and all the rest of the fundamentals that drives the global market. So based on that, the expectation of people, the rational behavior itself will drive people towards, the direction of more adopting and understanding and facing the reality where the major economy in the world, accepts or create a favorable environment. I think this would be the key for the coming year. We will be witnessing if the words would become the policy or will remain the words, because there are a number of promises there. Let's see how it goes.
Sleeping giant, if you will. Any other thoughts on regions, nations we might see growth that others are not sleeping on or not thinking about as seriously?
It will come from so we've launched products in the ETF space, unrelated crypto, and it is a pain because it's so bureaucratic and tough to get products into the distribution platforms into hands of RIAs, et cetera. And so to your question, where it will come from, it will come from the RIAs and wealth managers in America that are telling their baby boomer clients on a golf course in the middle of Indiana to put 2% of their portfolio
back to
into
grandma. Grandma's back.
It's grandpa now. To put 2% of portfolio into Bitcoin.
Yep.
And they're doing it because all their other colleagues are doing it, and no one ever got fired selling IBM, right? And so we're still waiting for that to happen.
Great point. Last question. let's have some fun with predictions. I would like each of you gentlemen to do two things, a little lightning style, kind of like, and I won't force you to give a robust, long, well-reasoned answer, but I'd love two things from each of you. I'd love a prediction for 2025 about the Web3 crypto space, and have a little fun, and let's say 5 years from now, what could crypto 2030 look like? And that could be whatever shape you'd like. It could mean something we can do with our wallets and phones we couldn't do in the past. It could mean how we live our life. It could mean the price of Bitcoin, whatever you like, dealer's choice. Jerry, I know you always have thoughts. So, so you asked for it earlier. So what are your thoughts, sir? Let's start next year prediction and then 5 years out.
So for me, when I look at it, we're now at like the beginning of chapter 2 for crypto. Chapter 1 was it going to survive? Is it going to be mainstream adopted? I think now we're at the point of no return. It's happening. It's happened. You can't put it back in the box. So we're done. Now it's like price discovery and like, where can this thing actually go? And for me, 2025 is going to be that. We have obviously the Trump administration, everybody knows. We have like insane use cases actually happening, payments use cases, like global commodity traders using stable coins to settle trade because you don't have to go through traditional financial markets architecture to like make a payment and get paid T+7. So all of these like things that have been brewing under like kind of out of sight, I think 2025 is going to increasingly bring about. So that's really exciting. What was the second part?
5 years from now. So crazy. And no one will, don't worry, we're not going to come back to you and check you down and say, hey, Darius, 2030, this didn't happen. So we're in safe space.
Look, let's assume like the hypothesis that you can't put it back in the box is correct. Pretty sure on that. Then everything in life, it's about like how much people believe in it. Right? And so why is gold valuable? Because everyone believes that gold is valuable. But when you're dying of starvation and the guy gives you a bowl of rice or some gold, you're going to choose the rice. So the intrinsic value of gold is arguable. What we're finding is that people are now getting their head around that there is an intrinsic value of Bitcoin, that it is a digital version of gold. And we all kind of believed it or were on that journey since however many years now. But now it's going to become mainstream. Now like everybody within the next 2 years will, with varying degrees of speed, come to the same conclusion that this is a thing. So you fast forward to 2030, 5 years from now, BTC price, I don't know. If you asked me like peak bull market before, can we do $500,000 of Bitcoin? I would have said, dude, you need to leave. If you ask me today, can you do $750, $1 million Bitcoin in 5 years from now? I don't think it's beyond the realm of what's possible.
Lockton. Let's go short term, then long term.
Long term. I'll start with the long term.
Love it.
Definitely in 2030, the reality would be 80% different from now, let's say. And what is more important, whatever we currently predict, most probably will not happen.
Very humble and accurate point, yes.
So the rest is like quantum computing, those types of things may become much more tangible stuff in terms of daily routine. But other than that, it's really a very long term in this domain to predict anything. In a short-term perspective, 2025, I think, would be the year of big integrations, the Web3 environment and the traditional finance. We will be witnessing giants jumping into this space. We will be witnessing even maybe takeovers, mergers and acquisitions in quite a significant scale, even global. We will be witnessing, I think, several CBDC projects going live, most probably, and that's it.
That's exciting. Carl?
Yeah, I think the institutional adoption for the next year is going to increase substantially. The momentum towards that seems pretty strong, I think. On the back of that is real-world use cases around some of the scenarios we were mentioning earlier. I think we're going to see some of those come to life. And I'd say a lot of that is going to start to happen in the emerging markets. And so where there's a regulatory arbitrage, which is quite positive, clear, And we're going to see some of that, certainly, I think, in this market. So that's sort of in the next, I think, year. Looking way out, I mean, I shared a little bit earlier what's possible. And we're not far away from that. So I think when you start to think of the movement towards digital representation of us in this future digital immersive world, that's going to increase. I'm pretty sure it's going to increase because of the demographic shift towards that and the opportunity to really get back time. I think what we all lack right now is to get some of that time back, and having that kind of representation where you have your own personal algorithm or digital twin, whatever you want to call it, start to represent us in certain online channels. I think that's going to become more normalized than what we currently see.
They can be in the future, our AIs will be on this panel, and they can be having this conversation.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, yourself, short term, long term.
I'll keep it quick. Short term, I'm excited to see how, when the U.S. puts Bitcoin as a strategic Bitcoin reserve, how that will play out in game theory of other countries adopting it, and what does that mean for our global financial system. Long term, maybe beyond 5 years, taking us to a world where maybe there's UBI, AI is a deflationary enough force where we don't need to work as hard to generate economic output to live. And then the question is, we'll all be burdened by existentialist angst because we don't know what to do with all the free time we have.
Sign me up. Igor, you, sir, have the final word. Short term, long term.
Yes, short term, I believe this shift in adoption by government of stable coins means a lot because, first of all, for me, it shows the level of the cybersecurity there, so it becomes robust, and that's where we were talking about the missing part in an infrastructure. The cybersecurity, Web3 cybersecurity for scaling means a lot. And now, when the government adopts these stable coins, means that the level there is good. This will push also the entire Web3 world, right? And we will see maybe also for real world assets like real estate tokenization and so on, that we will see in the short term. Long term, saying about again these simple things, I believe in 5 years people will work all around the world like I worked 1 hour, I get paid immediately in a crypto, or if I'm an employer, and if I'm, let's say, investor, I sit somewhere and I click and I buy 10 meters in some apartment in downtown of Dubai and so on. So this kind of things definitely will happen. They will be available.
What a great note to end on. I love that. Gentlemen, great conversation. Please give for panelists, and thank you all for coming. Enjoy it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. And dear guests, it's now time for lunch. And after that, we're meeting at 3:15 here for some new announcements and new cooperation announcements. See you. Thank you so much.